In this episode, we're talking to Gordon. Gordon is a top-rated personal coach, speaker, and business consultant. I'm delighted and honoured to have him come and chat to me on the podcast. I was fortunate enough to take part in one of his very first ever decision days, and it's changed my life. My name's Tony Flynn. I'm the director of Tony Flynn Mortgages, helping first-time buyers, home movers and homeowners looking to refinance and keep mortgages simple. I work closely with people who are self-employed and business owners, and I love hearing their stories. The Scottish Small Business Podcast is a platform that allows these business owners to tell their story. Right, Gordon, how you doing, mate? Are you all right?
I'm good, Tony. Thanks. Good to see you, mate.
Good to see you. Thanks for coming on.
Pleasure. Looking forward to it.
Nah, brilliant. So, I'll just crack on. What's a wee bit of an icebreaker? What's the weirdest or funniest thing that's ever happened to you in business?
Weirdest is good. Well, we're off to a flyer. Weird. I suppose you get weird, funny, like you said, funniest, but you also get kind of weird, strange. Weird, strange. Oh, listen, we could do a full.
Right, I could go both, one each.
No, we could have a full podcast just on the funny stuff, but weird, strange would probably be the amount of people that I meet and work with that know their time isn't unlimited in terms of the time we get, yet choose to waste huge chunks of it doing the wrong things in the wrong business, with the relationships with the wrong people, and kind of just gliding or being on autopilot. That's weird. Yep. You know what, people do it, but it's weird. So we've worked together in the past, and as you said, and you know, I talk about day passes.
Yeah.
And you only get a day pass one at a time, and you just don't know when they run out, regardless of health, wealth, status, stuff. I know we're a couple of young stunners, but our odds tomorrow of getting a day pass are pretty good.
Yeah.
But they're also not guaranteed, mate. And look, to give you an example of weird, is there was a woman came to one of my live events, and she travelled to be there, and I'll not give you the detail, but her husband had a dream, and she went along for the ride, and then the husband didn't really like the business that they had picked, so he goes up, he takes a corporate job and works away, Tony, and she's left doing the thing that was his dream, no hers. And then we get into it, and I said, how long have you felt like that? And she said, 8 years. 8 years.
Wow.
Look, you're the numbers man. So what's that? Nearly 3,000 day passes on somebody else's stuff. And that's weird. And I try and be the catalyst for changing that, or at least making it, you know, my stuff's about decision making. So 2 weeks later, she messaged to say she was off and she'd left, and 2 months later, she messaged to say best decision I ever made, and recently she was back in touch. So that's probably not the funny story you were looking for, but it is weird that people just are running on autopilot.
I'll tell you what, people don't realise it, because I remember when I came to that first decision day and some of this stuff, and I'm like, it's mind blowing how simple. How simple a decision that you need to make, but it's definitely life changing. So, that's a strange one, but it's good
funny,
that she's got it sorted.
Sorry, mate. You asked for. I know we'll maybe touch on some of the things I've done, but I don't know if it's you find it, but certainly see people like paying up front for things are always. So, give you an example. When I had the fitness and weight loss business, I had this woman message me, like, seen my results, would really like to work with you, no problem, here's the score, here's how you get amongst it, here's the price, here's what happens next. And because I said to her, what's your biggest challenge just now? And she said, I go to Greg's every day. So I don't know. I don't know if you're allowed to plug things on this, but here you go. There's Greg. There's Greg's. We can get sponsored with Greg's.
Aye. Well, we'll see the boy coming up with the sausage rolls now.
And she says, I go to Greg's every day for my lunch. And I'm like, all right, no bother, that's the biggest challenge, right? So And then we get into it, and she was like, do I need to pay up front? Can I not just join? And like, we had that went back and forward a couple of times, and I'm like, there's no another way I've got to say this. You need to pay up front to join. And she's like, she kept saying, but, and then I end up saying, do you pay up front in Greg's? I was like, well, listen, she joined and we got on all right, and it was a bit like, but it's one of those ones that could have went up. She wasn't offended, do you know what I mean? But I was like, she pay up front in Greg's, and she always, we have that wee line between us. It was quite funny.
That's it. And it's you know where to take the line, don't you? It's so I know that's that. Well, that's touching on, because that's the first time I started working with you, was on that Fit as Folk. But if you want to tell us a wee bit more about your story and what's happened to get you to where you are now.
Oh, story. Sometimes I look back and I certainly laugh or smile. I left school with pretty much nothing, Tony. No qualifications, no interested in school. And I tipped into a local factory. Not quite started sweeping the floors, but low level manual work. But weirdly enough, school A, B's and C's didn't motivate me. I wasn't interested. But then I was working and I'm taking money home. I'm taking my wage home. So all of a sudden, that pressed more buttons for me than A, B's and C's. Know that I'm money's my god, but as a young boy, is that right? The more I put in here, the more I take home. So I worked my way up, and I was the youngest ever this and the youngest ever that, in a factory. And then it was one of those places that they said, you'll be lucky to get 6 months out of this, son. It was always going to be shut. And manufacturing's pretty much disappeared, as we know. But I was there nearly 10 years. So if you're going for all, and you always thought, oh, maybe it'll shut, maybe it'll close. So you're kind of operating for a place of fear or lack. So then I thought, listen, I'm here nearly 10 years. So I signed the missives for my first house on the Tuesday, Tony, and I know that's what you deal with. Yeah. And I get made redundant on the Friday.
Oh, nightmare.
So it was one of those ones. And our family trade, if you want to call that, our business, is the taxi trade or the taxi industry. Grandfather, dad, uncles, cousins, all involved in the taxi trade, all at different kind of levels of it. And I was the one that wanted nothing to do with it. But I get the rug pulled underneath me, and I just signed for my house. So I ended up getting sucked and dragged into that, screaming and kicking, I might say. But sometimes you've just not got the options or the choices. And again, a long story short, is that I ended up running the taxi business, and it was and having a share in it. 80 taxis, 100 drivers, 17 staff, 24/7 operation. And I suppose that's where I cut the majority. It was supposed to be a stopgap, Tony, and I was there 17 years, which is mad. But during those 17 years, that's probably where I cut my teeth in business. There wasn't another business education like it. And when there's money swishing about, there's also toe rags, and it has its moments. So during that phase of my life, I had premises petrol bombed, death threats, viable death threats, my home attacked. That kind
just
of
because
stuff.
You were running a taxi business, was it competitors?
Well, there was internal stuff and there was external stuff, and it wasn't quite the ice cream wars or that, but it certainly had its moments, mate. Mostly to do with tendering for contracts. I get told to stop tendering for contracts, but hey, listen, I kept going. To the point that the police were saying, listen, we've got some viable information that you're coming up quite a lot. So, and listen,
because you were good at business and you were trying to drive business in, that's nuts, isn't it?
And do you know what? Looking back, it is funny. At the time, it's no, but one of my things is determination. I keep going, but it does tip into stubbornness as well, mate. So I've got to do a check whether I'm being stubborn. And I think at that stage I was probably being stubborn. And I must stress, in the name of legitimate business, there wasn't anything else going on other than taxi business. There was nothing else going on for it to be at that level. So what that was good for me was certainly now looking back as perspective, mate. See when a spreadsheet's not working or a PDF's not working, I'm like, it's not as bad as getting petrol bombed. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's it.
That was the 10 stress.
Yeah.
Those are when I always try and do that check. Is it as bad as some of that stuff? It's nothing, you know. So
yeah.
But where we first crossed paths was, well, I'm 47 now, but when I turned 40, I looked in the mirror and I said, that's only going one way. That's only going one way. And as a result of running a taxi business, which had a chip shop just round the corner, and I'm talking about the women going to Greg's every lunch. I was going to chip shop every lunch for their meal deal. It felt like a no-brainer at the time, and supermarket meal deals was a big thing for me. £3.50 for rubbish sandwiches, a packet of crisps, and a can of fizzy stuff. So, I looked in the mirror and I thought, you know what, that's only going one way. And 40 was the catalyst. So I decided to lose weight. I decided to I wouldn't be able to diet and count calories, points or sins or any of that. And I lost just under 5 stone. And I kept
That's brilliant, isn't it? That's amazing.
And it runs through everything as well. It runs through everything. So I kept it off. And then probably the theme for here is accidental. Everything's been an accident with my stuff. But then it's also having the gut feeling to run with the accidents and taking opportunities as they come at you. So I was in my mate's house one morning. His wife said to him, "You'll need to watch the kids. I'm going to be in at Slimming World." Another plug. Greg's in Slimming World.
Brilliant.
I'm going to be in at Slimming World. You'll need to watch the kids. And this is the line, and I'll never forget it. He said to her, "I will weigh you for a £5." And I burst out laughing. I was like, "What do you mean?" It's like, she just goes, she pays a £5 to stand on a set of scales. She comes back. Nothing much changes, bar a couple of pounds here and there, and it gets there. And I said, "I'll give you a wee hand." And she went, "Oh, you've made big changes, so I'd love to know what you did and how you did it." So I helped her, and that's all it was. We helping one person.
Yeah.
And she lost 17 pounds in, say, 5-6 weeks. And she, by the way, Tony, she wasn't heavy. She was, and women beat themselves up about that stuff. So, and she said, "You need to do something with that." And it wasn't really sitting well with me. It wasn't really my thing. And she put a post on Facebook. She tagged 99 people in it. And she says, "I've lost 17 pounds working with this guy for the last 5 weeks. I suggest you pile in." And that was us. We were off and running. And
brilliant.
An accident. It was 120 quid to join, which you did. And that's when our paths.
Yeah.
It was called Fit as Fork. The branding was cool. The clients get called Forkers. We had merch. We had, so if we were doing a spotlight on somebody that had a great success story, it was Meet the Forker. And it kind of grew arms and legs to the point people joining for America and Germany and Belgium and France, Australia. Mad. Could never have predicted that. And then a couple of things happened. I got a phone call one day about an event in Edinburgh, and it was something like Mind, Body and Soul. I can't remember. So the guy phones me, and genuinely, I thought he was trying to sell me something. So I was a bit dry. I was like, "I'm having this event. I thought he was trying to sell me a ticket, Tony." Do you know what I mean? So I'm like, "Oh, are you? Right, okay." And he says, "No, I want you to be one of the speakers." And I was like, "All right, that changes things."
Yeah.
And again, a long story short, I said yes. And you've always got the chance to say yes, no. Said yes, went through. Little did I know it was 90 minutes, this speaking slot, which is deep end, mate, which is deep end. And I think the word was I survived. I survived it. I burnt through my material quick. I left myself with about 20 minutes at the end, and I opened it up to questions and answers. And luckily enough, I got enough to survive. But weirdly, that one event got me 3 other bookings. Those 3 other bookings got me. Do you know what I mean? And we kind of went for there, which was interesting, and I really enjoyed it, which helps. The other element of it is, as you know, I started doing a bit of personal development along with the weight loss and the fitness. And because your health's not just a number on the scale, your health's up here and what you're thinking, your health's your emotions, your health's, you know.
I remember when that was introduced as well, and everybody in the group was like, wow, it's taking it to a new level, and it really did.
Aye, and it seemed to be landing, but here's the thing, because I'd been doing Fit as Fork for a few years, Fit as Fork was telling lots of different people the same thing over and over and over, and I was starting to get stale. And we talk about keeping things fresh and doing different things. So we started doing a bit of personal development. Brilliant. It was landing, but it was also landing with me and firing me up. So then I thought, right, let's scratch an itch. Let's have an event. Let's have an event in Glasgow and make it purely personal development. And next thing, people are flying in for London and flying in for Belfast and traveling for Inverness. And do you know what I mean? I'm like, oh, here we go. And that first event landed beautifully. You know that there's always tears, there's always ups and downs. It's a bit of a roller coaster in an event, but that means I know it's having impact. And even after that first event, I thought, was that a fluke? You know, you question, was that a fluke? Was that a one-off? The only way to find out is to have another one. So then that started happening, and that's when I was kind of lit up. Then we had lockdown. And events are done, and the whole world rushed onto Zoom. And I just took some time off. Then I tweaked things. Then it became decision day. Then I suppose I launched it to a warm audience, mate. The people that already knew me and had worked with me on, like yourself. So, and we had decision day online. And within a couple of them, people were booking on for Canada and booking on for Mexico. And I thought, right, this is the thing. This is the thing. And we went for there. So that's the short answer to your question.
It's been great to see it evolve, because going back to the Fit as Fork kind of days, like I remember just popping onto Facebook at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. I just made myself one of these Chicago town pizzas in the freezer, into the oven. Absolutely brilliant. I'm thinking, this is my lunch. This is a day's worth of food for one guy at lunchtime. And I'm like, I need to do something about this. And that just so happens that Fit as Fork popped up, and I'm like, right, sign up to that. This guy knows what he's talking about. It looks as if he knows what he's talking about. And I signed up to it, and it's been great. Even at the Fit as Fork, seeing that develop and that started growing. And then when I get the opportunity to come on to the decision day, I was like, I'm going to take this. This guy knows his stuff. I'm going to go in and get a crack. And honestly, if and I know that you're expanding it and that kind of thing now, but it was the best decision that I had made at the time, to do it. And anybody else that's been on it, anybody that I've spoken to after it that have been on it, have says the exact same thing. It is life changing. For spending what 4 or 5 hours on a Zoom call, was it?
It's mad, honestly. And but then this, so Fit as Fork doesn't happen if I don't lose the weight. Events in person don't happen if I don't do Fit as Fork. Decision day doesn't happen unless lockdown happens and I need to change it. But it's also having the gut feeling to go with that. Do you know what I mean? And people that I work with too often don't they push the gut feeling away. That's your internal guidance system. So whilst there's been accidents along the way, it's embracing them and kind of going with it.
Yeah.
And it's been that sort of thing. And it is evolving. Doing a lot more one-to-one work with people, still taking them through the decision day process, but there's a lot more stuff after that. But it's cool. It's cool. It feels great, mate. It feels great. There's no way saying that another way.
That's it. Is it just you, or do you have a team, or is it just anybody that joins up with you? They get you all the time.
Aye, no, there's just me. There's
Brilliant.
just there's just me and what goes on in this big baldy head, mate. That's it. That's the kind of biggest asset in it.
Yeah.
But also putting it out there, and I always believe it lands where it's meant to. It lands where it's meant to.
Yeah.
And we've spoke about putting video content out. I was just talking about it the other day there. Doesn't matter if your video gets 8 views, 80 views, or 8,000, and mine fall in anywhere between that, if you know what I mean. And it's weird. I don't know if you get this, but you go, oh, that's going to land brilliant, and it gets 80 views, and you're like, oh. And then one you've just think it gets 8,000, you're like, what's that?
Yeah.
But not to get caught up in the vanity metrics of that. Every single view, it should be respected and could be the person that says, listen, can I work with you?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So I think you've got to accept that as well.
100%. And that's it doesn't matter whether you've got 100 people that follow you or 800 people or whatever. If 800 people are just dipping their toe in, but you've got 100 people that are really invested in you, I mean, that's worth gold. So it is.
You're better be 100 engaged people than folk dip in and out when it suits them. Like, you know, so I totally agree, mate. So there's been that element of it as well. It's been cool.
Brilliant. So you mentioned that obviously your decision days evolving and you're doing the one-to-one stuff. What kind of stuff does that entail then?
Well, there's only one of me. So decision day has evolved in that there's a couple of things since you were on that first one, which is probably tipped into a couple of years ago, was it?
Yeah. It was right at the start. I think it was the second one that you done. One-to-one.
When I work one-to-one with someone, it's my decision day program, and then it's now into my live set program, which is one-to-one coaching, and it means we can get into the guts of it, all of it. Do you know what I mean? So, live set. So decision day, as you know, gets to the stuff. It gets to the stuff, and I always talk about the thing behind the thing, and you know the impact it has, and you know that it always lands really, really well. So we go through that, and then people work with me typically for 10 weeks. So the first 2 weeks is decision day, and that tips them nicely into live set. So live set, like what I'm even talking about, is I believe like there's kind of 4 main elements of your life, and that's the thing that frustrates me is you hear people mindset. You follow a lot of people. Mindset's everything. 100% mindset, and it's hugely important. Hugely important. I wouldn't be where I am without mine, but for me, it's only 25% yet. So the other elements are made up of your heart set, your emotions, your emotionality, your acknowledgement of them, your handling of them, your management of them, basically your emotional intelligence. You've got your physical well-being, your health set, your energy, your weight, your vitality, and how you feel and look. And you've also got your soul set, which is your spirituality, your connection to self, your connection to others, your connection to everyone round about you. And you know, I talk about the appreciation for the shortness of your life and the appreciation for yours. And if you've not worked on all of those bits, then you're nowhere near your potential. And I often describe it, you've probably heard me saying it, it's a bit like a graphic equalizer and an old stereo. Remember the old stereos?
Yeah.
the young team. We've just lost the young team there, but you know what I mean. But, you'd all those elements of your sound, and it's a bit like that. And what my perfect settings are, will be different to yours. But it's the fact that and I think, you know, to explain it as well, you get folk that hammer the gym, but they've maybe get the emotional intelligence Peapod. Do you know what I mean? They've no worked on their emotions and their management over them. So there's that. So it's cool work, but I'm loving it. And I think what people say about it speaks for itself.
Is there anybody else out there doing anything like it?
I think that's what probably sets me apart. I think, I don't know. Do you know what? It's a wee bit like, I don't know if you hear comedians know watching other comedians in case it throws them, or they write a joke and they say, is that mine or have I heard that?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So I don't pay particularly much attention to what anybody else is doing, so that I don't have that. But I think it's that. I think it's
I think it's really unique, because there's loads of coaches out there and there's loads of speakers out there, and some of them are talking about the generic stuff that everybody's talking about, and you even see the speakers promoting other speakers, saying like Tony Robbins says this, so this is what you need to do, and like you are just, it's 100% you, and it's 100% authentic, which I think makes it 100 times better than what anybody else out there's producing.
No, listen, I really appreciate you saying that, and I know that's the good thing about us. We have worked together, so that means loads to me, and that's what I call my fuel. I think bringing it all together is my thing. One of the things is that like so many people are stuck, and it's that balance. But to let people know that they're in complete control. Like, so the cool thing for me is, and the really nice thing for me is, I'll get messages from people that I worked with 18 months ago regarding a decision, because I've gave them the tools for when things come along, off the back of working together. But in the same instance, I'll get a message from somebody that just seen something yesterday. And I know more recently I've been doing a thing called the Daily Decision, which is a video which we spoke about. It's the Daily Decision. I've not got mine out today, so that's on me. But and it's just it's to be the catalyst. Yep. The people always do the work. You done your work. I like to think I'm the catalyst that and gives them the decision making tools, and then can I bring it all together? Whereas if we just focused on physical well-being and neglected your spirituality, or if we just focused on your mindset, and what I see a lot, especially in business, this is a business podcast, people business, and they neglect their physical well-being, and then what's the point? What's the point of being absolutely done in?
And without getting too much away about some of my decisions, when we spoke about my decision day, it was all about like, let's grow the business, let's do this, and then I think why are you growing the business? What are you doing it for? Well, doing it for my family, and I think that's when you say as well, they're there the now, and it's like, all right, wait a minute here. Like,
I remember it.
Aye, and you're just thinking, you're right, like. And it's taking stock of that and realizing that I don't want to give too much away, but it was just madness, because it's common sense, and without, see, if you don't have somebody there that teaches you that and to coach you that, you just keep going and you're thinking. So
and you think you're pushing on hard for your family, yet you're missing things. I'm talking in general terms here. I'm not talking about you here, but you're missing things. Yep. So how's that working? I had it today, actually. It was nice this morning. I was working with one of my clients and said, how come you just make that simple? I think that's one of my things. You make it simple. People that are good at what they do, and I'm going to actually class myself as that, make things simple, and for people to understand. And guys in particular, there's two things. guys in particular, if I ask them, business owners, what you doing it for? For my family. All right. But you're not seeing them, and you're working 60 years, and you're working 70 years, and you're working 8 years. They want you there. And I'm all for ambition, drive, getting your shoulder into it, but not at the expense of the thing that you're saying you're doing it for. That's mad. That's twisted. That's twisted. That's run the wrong way. And then on the flip side of that, with women, especially women in business, especially mums, they're at the bottom of the list. The priorities. So they've got business to do, they've got mum duties to do, they've got being a whatever that comes with that whole gig, and they're at the bottom. Yet, if we don't have her at the top of the list of priorities, things will unravel.
Yeah,
things will unravel. So we're all guilty of doing it. I think to kind of sum that up in one word is being the catalyst for. But what I also would say for the likes of yourself and MD listening is, I respect people stopping, taking the time to do the work. That's huge, and that will always be their responsibility.
Yeah. So you've obviously worked with me, and you work with tons of individual people, and you touched on businesses there. Do you ever fancy taking this into like corporate events or into big businesses? Because there's loads of big businesses out there. You've got your big banks, your big call centres, you've got even mortgage firms, hundreds of brokers. You've got all of these kind of firms out there. Would you want to take this decision day into them?
It's already started.
Has it? Right.
It's already started. So it's the corporate team day. It's good. It's good. I've taken it into a few corporate teams. We can do it two ways, or the way I do it. I was going to say worry or fear. It wasn't even as big as that. Is sorry, bringing a corporate team together, right? Be it a sales team, be it a management team. I've got another cool thing on Teams actually. You'll like this. Insane. But then if you make it a personal development day, it depends on the dynamic of that team, whether they're willing to share personal stuff. Now, you've got to go to work with each other the next day. So that's got to be managed and got to be bought into. If that's not going to happen, what I do is I flip it into a business development day. And rather than making it the personal challenges and what you've got going on just now, what's happening in the business? And again, like, not to give too much away because there's a way I do it, and but we make it about the business. But then business will always be about the people. It's just we make the business the focus rather than the person the focus, but both are interlinked, if that makes sense.
Aye, brilliant. So it's good that you're cracking into that then. So before we kind of wrap up on that kind of thing, for us and for me and for people listening or watching on YouTube or Facebook, how can we help get you business? Where's that going to come from?
New business. I'm quite lucky in that my business tends to come word of mouth or from testimonials. See, that social proof of people posting and tagging me, or I'm good with that. But I'm always looking for speaking opportunities. That's been fantastic. But if you mean how did they find out more about me or that kind of thing, I've probably picked a completely rubbish time to have my website under construction and getting it's getting rejigged, reconstruction should I say, but website's yourdecisionday.com. Then you've got all the usual social media channels, and do you know what, DM me, send me a message, connect, have a conversation. And I think that's what people forget. Everything starts with a simple conversation, and then it goes for the other, doesn't it?
Aye, that's it. And that's it's half the battle, isn't it? See if somebody just asks, and it might work out for them. It might know, they might not want to work with you. That's fine, but just ask the question. And what we'll do as well is we'll get your links put on. So I know I follow you on Facebook and that, and your decision days, your daily decisions are brilliant. So anybody that is tuning in on the TikTok or the Facebook reels and that kind of thing will see you there. But we'll get the links put onto kind of podcast page and that kind of thing for you. But anything else that you want to go over or talk about?
I think the appreciation for time and how so I've got a funeral tomorrow, 57 years old. It's no time at all in today's money. It's no time. And people think they've got time. So that's one thing I would say. I would also urge people, what I do see, because I deal with themes, you know, themes. People think it's only them that's going through certain stuff, but everybody's got their stuff, and there's always themes, be it business, career, relationships, family, health. You know, we've all got the same stuff, themes. But one of the things that I certainly deal with is people pushing away or delaying being happy or content. Like it's in the distance. So, and then they say, "Oh, I'll be happy when." I'll be happy when I meet that person, that special person. I'll be happy and content when I get that job or that promotion. I'll be happy when I get the new house or the dream house or the forever house. I'll be happy when I get the car I've always wanted. So therefore, happiness and contentment is always in the future.
Yeah.
It's always pushed away and delayed. Yet when we focus and concentrate on making your happiness and contentment right here, right now, that's actually the thing that runs through everything else and goes and makes those things happen, as I say. And that's what I see so many people getting twisted.
Yeah, and I think I've worked in industries where there's always been goals. There's been goals for everything, and you never achieve your goal. Your goal's always an aspiration. You always get there, and there's the next one, and the next one, and the next one. And when you work with some, that's what it's like. You're setting goals, but flipping it round and saying, "Look, be happy that you're where you are is completely different from anything else I'm hearing out there on any of the speaker circuits."
It's weird. It's weird sometimes. And listen, I'm not saying just decide to be happy. That's no. When people have got big stuff, like I deal with some very, very dark stuff, and people that have been through things you wouldn't believe. But all we've got's to now. So I deal a lot with, and this is to help business owners, is circular thought. And that is playing scenarios that don't even exist yet. And we all do it. I used to be a world champion at it, mate. So you say, if I say that to him, he'll say that. If he says that, I'll do that. And if I do that, he'll probably do that. You're 4 or 5 deep into things that don't exist. But it's also the conversations you're having at night in your bed going, especially maybe staff or with a supplier or a client. And I just did it as a part of a speaking gig there. And it's a female business owner, an accountant, and she'd put off speaking to a client about a price increase for 3 months. Now, she's had the conversation so many times.
Yeah.
And then when she had the conversation, the guy said, no problem. Zero resistance. None. But the wheels have been spinning.
She's built it up.
It's mad. But I don't, and then also, we've mentioned it a couple of times already, is day passes. And the value. It's your biggest asset. The time, what you're doing, who you're spending it with. And if you looked at somebody, we're talking about business, say you're talking about somebody like Steve Jobs, right? You know, massive, way up there, or was, but he's away. He's gone. He's game over. It's game over for Steve Jobs. And I have no idea how much money he left, but it'd been the hundreds of millions, maybe even in the billions. I should probably look that up. But how much would he swap for 7 day passes this week? Boy, I would think it's a safe bet he would swap every penny for a handful of day passes. Yet, so many people don't realise the value of them and what they're doing with them and just gliding and just being on autopilot. And And it's that.
That's some inspirational stuff there, isn't it? Well done.
No, it lands. I'll say
Yeah,
it lands where it's meant to, mate.
Yeah, it does, mate. So, it's really changing the face of it. So yeah, but thanks very much for coming on. It's been great chatting to you, and I know we catch up all the time, but it's been great having you on and being able to talk to you about your story and even finding out stuff that I didn't know about you, and that was brilliant. So thanks very much for that. And
absolute pleasure, mate. I'm looking forward to seeing where the podcast goes and watching that grow as well. I've been enjoying your growth as well, which has been great to see, and it's nice to have played a wee part in it, mate.
Well, a fairly big part, I would say, because remember right back at the start, hadn't he done a video, and you're like, you went on and just told people, you're like, Tony's coming on to do a video at 6 o'clock. You didn't give me a choice. That was the very first one that I done, and folk are sick of me. They're telling me to beat it.
No, I remember it well. I set you up a peach. I said, Tony's doing a live. It was actually a live.
Oh, so it was. That's right.
And I tagged you in it, and I said, Tony's doing a live at 8 o'clock, and you were sweating. But I remember it well, and that's why you've got to put your message out there. You've got to put your magic out into the world, and it lands where it's meant to. To not do that is a poor service to the people that do need to hear what you've got to say. And I remember my first videos, Tony, you would have swore there was going to be a beheading after it, or a hostage situation, ransom situation, that I'd kidnapped somebody because I was, so, and here's the thing, if I look at, and you'll do the same, if I look at my videos for a month ago, you'll go, oh, but the videos I've done this week, I'll look at in 3 months' time and go, oh, do you know what I mean? So it's that evolution and growth, and it's you've got to start. You've got to get it going.
Aye, done my first video under you, and now I'm live speaking in front of groups of people. I'm doing podcasts, and
I've created a monster.
I know. So you're to blame. But mate, cheers for having you on. It's been brilliant, and we'll catch up with you again.
Different class, Tony. My pleasure, mate.
Right, take care.